Hey everybody, it's Matt. So we're about 10 weeks out from the New York City Marathon. I wanted to make a review video between these two shoes. So we have right here the Nike Alphafly Next%. This is the first version of the shoe. And then here we have a newer colorway, not the hot pink colorway, of the Saucony Endorphin Pro. Brand new shoe out within the last couple months. Been getting some good reviews. So I wanted to just do a quick comparison between the two shoes. You can find the specs on these shoes a lot of different places online. So I might not have the exact specs for you in this video, but I will talk just in general terms about the pluses and minuses to both. So let's talk a little bit about the Alphafly first. So the Alphafly I purchased back in January in preparation for a half marathon, a 10K, and a 5K this fall. And I largely got this shoe because it was just about the only shoe that I could find that was in stock anywhere locally here in Orlando. I bought it a little bit reluctantly because I had heard that for some people it could be a little bit clunky underfoot, and it is truly a boat of a shoe, a very, very large shoe, as you can see here. It relies primarily on, of course, the AirPods below the midfoot, forefoot to propel you forward and really give you a good push off so that you can maximize your stride length. I am not a stride length runner, and that's been part of the issue for me with this shoe. So let's talk a little bit about the pluses and minuses of the shoe. First of all, it has this great Atom Knit upper, very breathable. It certainly dries easily. You don't ever feel like your feet are swimming in sweat. It keeps your feet nice and cool. Even during the cooler days, it was very, very comfortable, but certainly now in the hot Florida heat, very much appreciated. The thing that I did have an issue with this particular shoe and the way that it's cut, and I had the same issue in the Vaporfly Next% 1, is the way that the toe box tapers. So as you can see along this side, along the lateral side of the toe box, it cuts across pretty extreme. And so part of my issue was that my second and middle toes were rubbing right up against where the shoe was creasing when I was pushing off, and so my toenails were getting pinched right along kind of the toe cap here, and that was causing a lot of black toenails, a lot of discomfort. I don't think I even fully realized how uncomfortable it was until I started really comparing it with the way my feet felt on some of the days that I was wearing just my daily trainers, and there was a very, very big difference in the way my toes felt afterwards. So that has been a downside for me personally. For you, again, best bet, try them on, right? See if you think that that's going to be something that's going to affect you. The toe box itself is really pretty wide, but again, it's just more the way that the shoe is cut, right here as it comes across your smaller toes that affected me. The midfoot, a lot of people don't like. I actually kind of liked it. It's built up quite a bit on the medial side, so you actually have quite a bit of a pronounced arch inside the shoe. So if you like a little bit more midfoot support, a little bit snugger fit in the midfoot, where your foot is really anchored in, you're going to really like this shoe. And then the heel, I didn't have any problem with. It's a wide enough heel to fit my foot, which is really a kind of a standard width foot. And I found it pretty comfortable. Of course, reinforced and locked in by this pad that's sewn in the heel counter, and that did a nice job of locking my foot in. It does not have a secondary loop that's positioned further back like a traditional runner's loop would, so it's harder to get a runner's loop type lockdown. I have elastic laces in this shoe, so basically I just slide the shoe on almost like a booty, and it just pops right onto my foot, and I found that that has been sufficient enough to keep my feet well grounded in the shoe. But really the highlight of the shoe, of course, is going to be the midsole. And the midsole, of course, is made up of the ZoomX foam. This is maximal stack height shoe. It has a 4mm drop from the rear foot to the forefoot. So only a 4mm slope from the rear foot to the forefoot. One thing that I would say too is it actually feels less than that because the heel is so soft and the AirPods are so plush, I guess you would say, that actually when your foot's sitting in there, you tend to kind of sink into the ZoomX foam in the heel and your forefoot stays propped up, so it's almost like wearing a zero drop shoe in a lot of ways. And so what that does is it really promotes forefoot striking, mid to forefoot striking. And so for a lot of people, including myself, depending on your stride type, this shoe is going to kind of try to force you to adapt the way you run. So it's going to say, all right, we don't want any heel strikes. We don't want any really truly even midfoot strikes. We want you really more just barely mid to forefoot strikes because we really want you landing on these Zoom pods, pushing off on those Zoom pods and propelling yourself forward. And so I think runners that have that nice long stride length where they can land here, push back really hard and then just let themselves snap forward, those are the people that are really going to benefit from this shoe, and it's going to maximize their propulsion and probably lead to just some unbelievable times and unbelievable experiences for them. For those of y'all that are like me, where you're a little bit more of that kind of mid cadence to mid stride length runner, you're not necessarily reliant on one or the other. This shoe's going to feel strange because it's going to force you to try to run that way, and so particularly when you start getting tired, it's going to feel really clunky underfoot. And you're not going to feel like you really have anything to kind of roll on, just kind of help you through your stride. The shoe is going to still require a lot out of you to push off. So it is not my favorite shoe to run in, during marathon training, let's say past maybe 14 miles or so, just because my body does start to get fairly fatigued at that point in time, and I feel like I'm not really able to take advantage of everything the shoe has to offer. So let's compare that Outsole. Outsole is pretty comfortable. You've got a good padding of rubber up here in the front. Really helps protect those airbags, although certain people have reported that those have gotten punctured. But I find it plenty grippy. Not really anything to write home about there. And of course, as we talked about in the heel, you've got some relatively protective strips. I feel like it protects the ZoomX foam fairly well. It's just so squishy, guys. The ZoomX foam is just an unbelievably cushioned foam. Very similar, obviously, to what you would experience if you ever run in the Next Percent, but more of it. And because of the difference in plushness of the heel versus the firmness in the forefoot, you really feel it that much more here. So again, I would recommend this shoe for people that are runners that are going to have a longer stride, that really land mid forefoot and that really push off and are strong enough to do that and create their own propulsion throughout whatever race distance it is that you're running. Otherwise, it's going to feel kind of clunky, kind of like a boat underfoot. Now, I have replaced that shoe because I didn't drive with that shoe so well recently with the Saucony Endorphin Pro, which has gotten some great reviews. I've run in the Saucony Endorphin Speed for about the last year as a daily trainer, and I really like the way that shoe felt. I have had a pair of Pros in the past. I had the Saucony Endorphin Pro 1, and it was just a little too firm underfoot for me. It just felt hard, quite frankly, underfoot for me. I didn't feel like it was really giving me much energy return, and it was not necessarily a shoe that I really wanted to associate myself with. However, the Speeds give you a little bit more propulsion, even though it's the same midsole foam. It's the Power Run PB midsole foam. The Speeds have a nylon plate in the forefoot, and I believe extending back towards the midfoot as well, whereas the Pros have a carbon fiber plate. But what they've done a little bit differently this year with the Pros is they've changed the density of the midsole foam so that it is not only a taller stack height, but it's also a little bit bouncier. It's a little bit softer underfoot, and so it gives you that propulsion through your stride along with Also providing kind of the thing that the Endorphins are known for is the speed roll technology, which is basically it's an S-shaped plate that goes through the midsole, and it basically allows you, no matter where you land underfoot, whether it be the heel, the midfoot, or the forefoot, it allows you to continue a nice roll through your stride. So what it promotes is it promotes a quick leg turnover, but it also promotes you getting the most out of each stride. And so when looking at my statistics running in this shoe versus like my daily trainers, which I run pretty frequently in the Nike Infinity Run Flyknit, I see almost a half a foot of difference per stride between this shoe and that shoe, and the speeds are kind of in between. So it's very interesting how the geometry and the shape of the shoe can really work with your natural stride type to get the most out of your strides. So this has really been quite a find for me. It's totally different, again, underfoot than the ones were. Much softer, much more propulsive. It kind of snaps back at you a little bit more than like a Nike Vaporfly would be, where your foot kind of it's mushy. It's almost like a marshmallow feel underfoot. You almost feel like you're fighting the shoe a little bit. If you've worn that shoe, you'll know what I'm talking about. This one doesn't do that. It's nice and soft underfoot, but you don't feel like you're fighting the shoe. It's just a nice, consistent roll and flow through the stride. And so for my stride type, this has been an unbelievable fit. Let's talk a little bit about the upper here. So as you see on this upper, and I'll bring the Alphafly back in, there isn't nearly as extreme of a cutoff here on the lateral side of the shoe on the Endorphin Pro as there is on the Alphafly. It's a little bit more of a square toe box, and because of that, it allows your toes really to stretch out a little bit more. And when you do roll through the stride, you're not getting your toes crunched quite as much. Also, there's not as much of an overlap from the toe cap on top of your toes either with this one. And so again, just less opportunity for you to get a black toenail or just get discomfort in your toes, more opportunity for them to splay naturally during the stride, which I think biomechanically is a really good thing. The top of the eyelet chain, this is more of a traditional upper versus, of course, that Atom knit is more of a booty. There is no tongue on the Alphafly versus there is a tongue on this guy. And the tongue, it's kind of hard to see because I have elastic laces in this shoe as well, but it's just a paper thin tongue. It's got 3 large holes in it for extra ventilation, and they kind of look like the Saucony logo. Some people have said that kind of irritates their foot, that they could feel the laces through that. I haven't had that experience either with the elastic laces or with the laces that came in the shoe. So, to each their own. Again, order the shoe, try it, see if it works for you. I know Fleet Feet allows you to actually run in the shoe for up to 60 days, and you can return it after you have an opinion on it, whether or not it's going to work for you. Versus a lot of places, you can return it, but maybe it's just for store credit. You can actually get a full refund through them. So they're kind of my go-to whenever they do have a shoe in stock that I'm interested in. So this one, as you can see, has almost like an athletic mesh upper. Kind of reminds me of like the old school football jerseys from the 80s. But it's reinforced. There's almost like a webbing that's really thin that reinforces all of this. But these are super breathable. And again, you get that same nice airflow, keeps your foot cool as you do in the Alphafly. I think the toe box is going to be more accommodating, not just with the way that it's cut, but it's also a little bit wider in my opinion than what it is on the Alphafly. The midfoot is certainly wider than it is on the Alphafly. You don't have quite as much of a buildup along your arch though. So if you're somebody that really likes that tight lock-in to the midfoot, you may want to go Alphafly, or at least that's a point in the Alphafly camp for you. And in the heel, again, plenty of space, more of a traditional heel counter, and it's flexible, but it's it's nice, lightweight, and I feel like the lock-in is really good. A few people have complained that their Achilles is rubbing against the heel counter. I haven't had that experience, but I think part of that has to do with stride, sock type, things like that you wear with this. I typically wear Features Elite socks with my shoes, which have a nice collar on them and help protect my Achilles. So I think if you're wearing a good running sock with a nice collar on it, it should help protect that. That being said, again, reason to order from a place like a Fleet Feet that you know that you can either get an exchange or get your money back. There's lots of different opportunities out there for you to find new shoes. Talking a little bit about the outsole, because we really talked a lot about the midsole a little bit earlier. The outsole, you can actually see where they've cut some of the Power Run PB midsole foam out, and they've done that, I think, to save weight. You can also see the carbon fiber plate in here as well, which is cool. But again, I think from a functional standpoint, they did that to save weight. Also to maybe provide a little bit of a trampoline effect for you as well in various zones on the shoe. So there's a few little grooves, even just a little bit of a groove here in the heel as well, where when the shoe comes down, you might feel a little bit of a give there. And again, it gives you a little bit of an extra cushioned feel and a little bit of a trampoline effect. So that's awesome. The rubber is a little bit different this year. It's a different blend of rubber than they've had before. They've had a carbon rubber on their shoes before, which is a little bit of firmer rubber. It almost feels like a plastic. This is just more of a rubbery feel to it. I'm not sure what this is called, to be honest. If you know, let me know. But it's a little bit softer, a little bit more accommodating. Like if it hit the road, it would mold a little bit more to the road and grip the road a little bit more than the carbon rubber that would just kind of maybe graze a little bit more on top of it. So a little bit more of a conforming type rubber. And they've got really good protection for that Power Run PB in all of your landing zones on here. You could probably scuff up the Power Run PB a little bit here in the midfoot, potentially, but I think that it would be difficult to do that. You'd really have to maybe land on a curb or something like that and totally shred that area in order for that to be an issue. But again, pretty well protected there on the outsole. So all in all, again, my feelings are that if you are an elite runner and you're a stride runner, you have that nice long stride, you push off really hard, and you want to just get the most out of every stride that you have. You are a 4-foot striker, and you use that kind of to your advantage, that this shoe's for you. The Alphafly is for you. The new version of the Alphafly is a 8mm drop. Again, this one is a 5mm drop. The Saucony, I think I neglected to say, is also an 8mm drop. And so that just gives you a little bit more heel to toe. So you're in a little bit more athletic position as you come through. If you're not an elite runner, that might be helpful depending on your stride type. For the majority of us that are non-elite runners, I would say that this shoe is probably more likely to be your cup of tea, just because I think it's more forgiving, regardless where you land, regardless of your stride type. So I think a heel striker, I think you could strike on the rear foot, and it's going to rock you forward onto your toe and move you forward there. I think if you're a midfoot runner like I am, you're going to land midfoot, and you still have this great plate and all this foam to really push off of and let you propel forward, but in a little bit more of a natural way than using the AirPods and trying to compress those and let them spring you forward. You can just keep a nice roll going through your stride, and probably going to be a little bit more of an effortless run for you here. And then, of course, 4-foot strikers, kind of the same thing there. So those are my general thoughts from my experiences with both shoes. I hope that makes sense to you guys. If you have any questions, though, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'll get back to you, with my thoughts and my answers on those. But those are that's a comparison of two of the more popular shoes so far this year. And again, any questions you might have, just leave them down below and I'll get back to you. If you'd like to support my New York City Marathon training, for Team N training, which is for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, of which I am a leukemia survivor of about 10 years, you can actually use the link down below to Roadrunner Sports, and you can purchase either one of these shoes. Actually, you know what, that might be out of this one at this point in time, but you can purchase this shoe through Roadrunner Sports, and I get about 10% of that back, and I am donating that to the Team in Training fund for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And Roadrunner Sports also has good return policy, but do know that once you run in it, you won't be able to get your money back. You'll just be able to get a credit or an exchange for a different shoe on that. So I just wanted to make sure I was upfront with you guys with that. Fleet Feet does have a little bit better return policy when it comes to actually getting a refund. So just letting you know, straight to the point on that, so you don't get yourself in a bad situation. But I appreciate any support that you would want to give, and hope you guys have a great day, and we'll look forward to another one sometime soon. I'd like to compare some daily trainers maybe. I know the Nova Blast 3 is getting ready to come out. I'm hoping to get that shoe. If not, I've got the Nova Blast 2 and the Nike Infinity Run Flyknit 1, and the Infinity Flyknit 1 and 2 are not a whole lot different, so I'd love to do a comparison video between those. And then of course the Endorphin Speed that I mentioned, I've got the Endorphin Speed 2, and I can talk to you a little bit about that shoe and how, even though it's a daily trainer, it's a little bit different quiver than those other two in the repertoire. So we'll talk running shoes again soon. I hope you guys are enjoying the variety on this channel, and again, look forward to our next visit, whether it be from one of the Disney parks or here from my desk doing a sports show or an update on marathon training. I hope you guys have a great day.